Hey, one sec here. Hey, good call, Rob. Good call. Let me restart that whole damn thing. Fucking mic was off. Okay. So welcome everybody. My name is Doobyis. This is After the Smoke is Clear. We're gonna chop that first bit off. I'm here with Rob Roy. And he's got a lot of new music been coming out over the past months, years, and the whole point of this show is just to try to help artists kind of share knowledge about the scene with one another and get their music into new listeners' ears. So hopefully we can do that. Rob, I saw you were on satellite radio on Rude Jude's show. Can you tell us how that went and how you managed to make that happen?
Well, it actually wasn't the first time that I was on that show. I was on that show back in 2012 on the same segment, and I won that segment too. So
Two for two.
I came in trying to do the back to back. But how that all came about is basically, being a fan of the All Out show for years now, and Rude Jude, they have the segment called "Hate It or Love It," where pretty much anybody can send in their music, and eventually, maybe hopefully, you'll get a call from them, and they ask you the day of or the day before if you want to participate. So
Not a lot of time
how
to
I
prep then.
yeah, well, how I managed to get on there, I don't think my previous appearance on it had anything to do with it because it was so long ago.
What was
But
the name of that track from 2012? Do you remember?
Give Me Them Props,
Give Me Them
which was
Props.
actually
Okay.
produced by my brother. I should probably release it. It's somewhere on YouTube, and when you find it on YouTube, you'll see the comments. "Oh, I heard you on Shape 45." So I mean, it definitely there's lots of listeners. But how I got on that was I just emailed them every day, and
Just
that's
relentless.
well, that's you ever watch the movie The Shawshank Redemption where Andy Dufresne's emailing about the library or mailing every single day,
Yeah.
and he's like, they can't ignore me forever.
Yeah.
So
Man.
that's basically how you got to do it
You
to
hear
any of these.
stories like that from a lot of artists who kind of have succeeded or whatever. It takes a lot of perseverance and a lot of pushing, right? So,
Yeah.
props to you for doing that for all these years. And I noticed actually when I looked at like your Bandcamp, which by the way, where can artists, or sorry, where can fans buy your music at right now? It looked
Well,
like Bandcamp was kind of inactive for a while.
it's been inactive, and you know what? I should actually get on Bandcamp because it's a very viable option for artists. Just want
Yeah.
people to know about that. But
Exactly, man. I tell people all the time, like if they hear something on the show that they like and want to support it, it's tough out here for artists, So
no,
even though they can stream it, I always encourage people to go buy that music on Bandcamp or whatever, even if it's just for a buck, for $5, whatever.
yeah.
Buy the project. It shows a lot of support. That keeps people making art. Keeps people motivated to do it, right?
And you get a lot of you get to keep a lot of the money that
Yeah.
you on Bandcamp,
From
right? So
Bandcamp, exactly, and you're not paying iTunes or whatever. They'll take a bigger chunk than Bandcamp will. So,
but with that said, right now it's streaming, and you can like my music can be purchased on iTunes.
right,
Um,
which
I
is
just
better
actually
than
had
not buying it anywhere for sure.
yeah, I had a guy from Germany hit me up there the other day, and he's like, "Yo, I heard you on Shape 45, and um, I bought the street chapters, and like for me, that's it's no matter it doesn't matter how much music I sell. If I'm reaching people out in Germany, then that's a big deal, So
Yeah, hell yeah.
you know,
Doing it for the love of the art is, I mean, it shows that you must have a love of the art if you've been doing it, since 2012, and even before then. I'm sure that wasn't the first song you made or whatever. So,
yeah,
longevity in it, it's something that only comes with passion for it. So,
well, I try to tell people that like as far as hip hop and the community goes, people got to understand that hip hop is a community, and you're either adding to it or you're taking from it.
hell yeah.
And if you're constantly taking from it, you're not going to last. But if you're adding to it, you'll live forever. I mean,
Yeah,
this is
man.
why we still listen to Big L and Biggie and Pac and Big Daddy Kane and Master Ace, all these guys, because they contribute something to the culture that is timeless,
that we can't
right?
forget. Yeah, totally.
You can't forget it.
So I brought up Bandcamp actually because I noticed that the last track you had on there was from 2015, and you were talking about the streets of Toronto. So I know now you're based in Calgary. You're wearing a Jays hat. I assume you're from Toronto, right?
Yeah, I'm from Toronto. I was born in Scarborough.
Okay, so talking about hip hop community, can you kind of contrast, like, what was it like out in Toronto area compared to hip hop community in Calgary? Like, Calgary isn't really a spot that's on the map for hip hop at this point, right? So even as far as like booking shows and stuff like that, like, do you find how have you found Calgary?
Well, I mean, Toronto, people got to understand, like, there's a lot of history in Toronto for hip hop.
Yeah.
I mean, the connection between New York City and Toronto goes back to like the mid 80s. Yeah. And you got artists like Michi Me and HDV, Maestro Fresh West. I mean, these were people that were deeply connected with New York as far, and not only that, like Main Source. I mean, Large Professor. He's from New York, but yeah. I mean, Main Source is considered a Canadian group, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they got Main Source is the first guys that brought Nas onto the scene. So at Live at the Barbecue.
Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. So it's like the scene in Toronto is very deep rooted in like East Coast flavor of hip hop, right? Yeah. Their whole structure is pretty much built on that. And if you're going back to the 90s with like Ghetto Concept and Danio and guys like this, I mean, Rap Essentials Volume 1s and 2, like these were big records in Toronto, and then expanding across the country. Now coming to Calgary, people always ask me, well, what's Calgary's identity for rap? There is no identity. You know what the identity is? It's country music. That's what people think of when they think of Calgary. You know, they think of the Stampede, they think of Cowboys, but like
there's got to be some hip hop nights and stuff going on though still, right?
Oh, there is. Like, I mean, 10 at 10 is a big contributor to the scene with Benny J. You know, a guy from Dragonfly Empire, Tariq.
Yeah, he does.
He said
his weekly show too.
Yeah, he made a great point where he said that because Calgary and kind of Alberta doesn't really have that much of an identity with hip hop culture and music, it gives people an opportunity to create that identity, right?
Yeah,
and build it. So for me being from Toronto, my whole style has always been rooted in like golden era boom bap records, and the audience, people are like, oh well, that shit's dead. These young kids, that shit's dead. But
I mean, will never die.
It'll never die. I mean, there is an audience for it. I mean, the people that we grew up listening to are still relevant within their own niche, right?
Hell yeah.
Which is huge. So I'm not worried about it. I just do what I love, you know? So
yeah, man. On my show, I try to play a mixture of both kind of styles, right? Like I play stuff that has that golden age boom bap feel to it, you're talking about, but I'll also play stuff that has kind of the more, you know, trap influenced 808s and snapping hi-hats. If it's music that I can still vibe with, right? Like if I can still appreciate the lyricism or whatever, like I'm an MC myself, so really that's where I come at it from, is if the MC I'm listening to has bars, that's music I like. So, you know, digging into like the Toronto scene, I've really found what you were saying about like that they have that East Coast flavor, which is really what's always attracted me to hip hop, is the East Coast boom bap stuff. So you know, digging into the Toronto scene, like I found a ton of different artists out there. One of them who put out, I think he put out a mixtape last year, Big Sprox. Maybe it wasn't a mixtape, he put out a project I think last year, but I've seen you on a couple of his beats. And I've kind of noticed just watching your production and who you're working with that it tends to be the same kind of crew, or you know, Icy Soul and Shy the Beat Yoda. Half Cut, is Half Cut based in Calgary, or is he out?
Half Cut is Calgary. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to ask you about like how important do you feel like it is to have kind of a team behind you? Because you hear that for artists coming up, that like, oh, nobody can do this by themselves, they need to have a team with them.
Yeah.
And it seems like you do, you know.
Well, I mean,
is that accurate just from the outside looking in, or?
It is accurate in the sense where, you know, I do work with these people. Now everybody is basically on their own path, but
Sure.
for myself, when I'm like outsourcing or looking for a good producer to work with or a good MC, you know, like their skill set matters to me, right?
Yeah.
So recently in the last couple of years, I mean, working with Marco Polo and with Half Cut and Icy Soul and Shy the Beat Yoda. So Marco Polo and Shy the Beat Yoda are pretty much best friends, right?
Okay.
And Shy has done a lot of work with Marco on various projects, as far as him being an
Marco
MC.
Polo's been dope for a long time, that guy.
For a long time. So, yeah. I mean, as far as like, you know, is it a team that we all sit around a table and conjure up a plan? I wouldn't go that far.
Sure.
But when we are working on a project together, everybody's in contact basically through me, because at the end of the day, like, I'm funding it, right? You know, like I'm paying. If somebody works with me, I pay them. You know what I'm saying? Like,
and that's working with Marco too. Is it? I think just to, if we do have artists who are watching this, don't reach out looking to work for free with other artists. No matter how dope you are, nobody wants to work for free if they don't know you.
Yeah.
You know, always.
I mean, like, I was talking to Marco there last week, and he's good friends with DJ Premier.
Yeah.
So I said, you know, maybe when you see Premier this week, when you go to visit him, maybe ask him if he can play, if he wants to do a beat for me, eh? I was just joking. And he's like, you know what? He goes, he's like, I'll tell you one thing about the industry is nothing moves but the money. Yeah. Okay. So Premier could like you. He could be, and he does like the records that I put out.
Sure. He's played some of them, didn't he? Weren't you featured on?
Yeah, I was on
track or whatever. I remember he played.
And Premier shouted me out personally on the radio, so that was a big deal to me. You know, for me, I could have died at that point.
Dude, and honestly, like, seeing your fan engagement, like through Instagram or whatever, like seeing those videos, you know, when you were on there thanking Premier or whatever, and geeking out about it, that makes you feel like a real person to me, you know, like that draws people towards you. So I think that's something that you do really well, is your social media engagement too, which is like a huge part of the game at this point. Whether we want it to be or not, it is, you know. Nobody's going to hear your music unless you offer that side or whatever, which, you know, is why I started doing these interviews with people, to try to open that door up more for people and just share fan bases and stuff across the country with people. So I appreciate you coming on, man.
I appreciate that. Well, you know, I got to the point with my music where, you know, like I pretty much came to the conclusion, like, being that I'm in my 40s now, that the chances of me like blowing up are pretty slim. But, you know, I chased the respect, and, you know, when I got the respect of the highest point, is because for me, DJ Premier he's a pioneer, and he's probably considered top 3 producers of all time.
Absolute
right?
Legend. Like,
he's a legend.
Top 3 for sure.
So getting that validation for me was like, yo, nobody could talk to me about like the relevancy of what I'm doing, right? Because
doesn't matter what that guy from high school thinks. You know?
Exactly, you know. And none of that would ever have been possible without Marco. And Marco is a legend in his own right. I mean, Marco has worked with anybody who's anybody in the game, as far as like, if you're a lyricist.
Yeah.
He's got records with amazing artists, and I just feel very fortunate that Marco, when I sent him, I did a record with Adam Bomb out in Toronto, which I'll say Adam Bomb is probably the best.
Actually, I think I might have that one
of the best rappers I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, have you only done one track with him? Because I think I have that one queued up to play on the episode before this interview.
I have. How many records do I have with Adam? I have one. I have I have 2 records with Adam.
I have one that came out maybe last year, probably.
Yeah, it's called For All Those. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's
so. Yeah.
So that'll play on the episode before this.
So Marco heard a record that I did with Adam. I sent him that record that you're about to play, and Marco was like, "Yeah, I'll definitely work with you." So I mean, like, see, people got to understand too about these producers too. I mean, if you're super whack, right, and you have money to spend, which is fine. I mean, but a producer like Marco or DJ Premier, they don't need your money.
Yeah.
You know, they can choose who they want to work with. Now, $100,000 is $100,000, you know, no matter how you shake the stick at it, right?
Yeah.
And not a lot of people are going to turn that down. I know I wouldn't.
You'd have to be pretty
you could be the
whack for
wackest
somebody
artist
to
in the
turn
world.
that one down. Yeah. And even then, maybe just do it as a joke or whatever.
But I mean, with that said, you know, like, yeah, I mean, it's just getting back to the point of like working with a team and everything. I think it's important that you surround yourself with people that want to make you better, and people that aren't fucking yes men. You know, that will give you the truth. Like we could be in this. I'll give you a quick story about me and Half Cut when we were in the studio recording Trust Me, the third record we released with. Yeah, so it took a while to get that track together, and Half Cut's my boy, and he's like, yeah, I just wrote this verse quick, and I kind of got mad. I'm like, bro, like we're coming off Staircase, and Half Cut to me is like the top, one of the top MCs in the country, hands down. In Calgary, especially, nobody could touch this guy, right?
Sure.
And
that's one question I always ask: is top MC and top producer from your own city? So there we go. That's knocked off.
Well, for me, Half Cut is the top MC, but I mean, IC Soul, he gets busy, man. Like
he's based in Calgary too.
He's based in Calgary too, and he has his own studio called Diamond Needles. If anybody's looking to get some recording done,
nice.
And he is a solid MC. I mean, he did a record with me called Say So, and I had 2 verses on it. I can admit it, like he bodied me on that record. Like he bodied me. And I'm just like, every time, and that's what I want when I work with guys, especially guys like Adam Baum, Half Cut, IC Soul.
Yeah.
You know, like you got to bring your A game, and Tona too. Tona's my guy.
That's your new single coming out, right? With Tona?
Yeah. It's called Are You Dumb? So, I mean, like, you got to bring your A game with these guys, right? It's like, have you heard Russ's new album, Chomp 2?
Just bits and pieces. Haven't gotten a chance to really dig in.
Now, I have a lot of respect for that guy, Russ. You know, like he when he made Chomp 2, he's like, I just want to make a hip hop album, right? And that's what he did. He's got Ransom on it, Ghostface. He's got Benny the Butcher. He's got he's got Premiere production on it. Like he's got heavy hitters on that. And what he said was, he's like, it was like playing one-on-one, you know, here's my opportunity to play one-on-one with Jordan or LeBron, you know? So I got to get on the record and I got to show them that I could fucking hang, you know? So,
I mean, I think any MC should feel like that, right? You want to be the best on anything you're talking on, don't you? Like you're going to try to. Anyway. Yeah.
It's competition. Like another point I'm sorry to cut you off there. I like to talk though.
No,
right? So
keep going, man. Go on.
Another point I like to bring up, I mean, within the city of Calgary, I mean, I get the point of, like, you know, people coming together and creating a community that can help it build. But at the same time, I look at everybody as food. Like you're all food to me. Like, you know, like sometimes I'm not on that kumbaya shit where, you know, like, oh, let's all fucking hold hands and sing a song together. It's like, bro, I think you're whack, and I would never do a record with you.
Shots
fired.
Know? Yeah.
I can like you as a person, but if you put on a trash record, I'm not gonna inflate your ego, right?
Yeah.
So, and at the bare minimum, rap is competitive. I come from a battle rap cut cloth where it's like.
So I guess the other school of thought there, Rob, would be like Sean P in 05 to 09 just knocking out verses for anybody that had $500 for him, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the other business model there, is like work with anybody who will pay you and just flex that you have bars forever, I guess. But you know,
Sean P's a legend.
Definitely
man.
respect both sides of that that debate. Personally, I like rapping with anybody whose vibe I actually appreciate, you know. So like you said, I'm more, it's got to be somebody who I want to work with before I'm actually going to try to work with them. But
believe me, I've had artists, I won't name any names, but I've had artists hit me up and say I need a feature, and I'm like, well, you know, let me send me what you got, and so that we can see what's good.
Yeah.
And then I'm honest with them. I'm gonna say, listen, bro, I mean, you're in the big leagues now, man. You need to step that shit up. And like, if you're gonna pay me $2,500 to do a feature, then yo, I'll take the money. But
yeah,
you're gonna get rinsed on your own record, man.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing is, like, you know, it's not even going to be a good look for that guy getting, you know, a big feature like you or whoever else on his album if you're going to outdo him. Speaking of albums, though, man, when are you going to put an album out, or is it singles era at this point? I feel
right
like
now
a lot
it's
of people
singles,
think it's
but
singles
I am. Yeah, I mean, I am. Right now, I'm in the process of like buying a home. So, I mean, usually I'm gun ho about creating, but I got a lot of like other shit that I got on my plate right now. But I mean, as you can see, like I got my own recording set up here. I'm capable of doing this at any time.
Yeah.
There's a producer here in Calgary named Dirty Sample.
Yeah, I've worked
with him. And Dirty
before,
Sample
actually.
is produced for like Rock Marciano. Pardon me?
I've worked with him before, actually. He did a few remixes for me. Yeah.
He's dope, and I told him to send me a bunch of beats, and he did. And we're kind of like, me and him are kind of on that like Griselda tip, right?
Yeah.
So that real raw street shit. I mean, like, as far as I'm concerned, Griselda saved hip hop, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they came back with that raw, like when Wu-Tang came out with 36 Chambers, everybody was like, yo, what the fuck is this?
Knocked a couple layers of polish off of everything, right? Same deal with Griselda now. They're making it grittier again. Yeah.
Grittier. I mean, guys like Ransom and 38 Spesh and Rock Marciano, like these guys are, I mean, most people, when they listen to music, they just want to forget, you know, like they're what's going on in their lives and vibe out. Yeah. But for me, it's like I'm paying attention to your bars, right? Yeah. You know, like I'm listening to what you're saying, because that's the emotional reaction that I get. You know, sometimes it's like makes me think, and other times I go screw face, and I'm like, this guy is on another level, right?
Exactly, man. I mean, a guy told me about an episode of my show that he listened to. He was like, there were a couple tracks in there that were a little bit more depressing, though, he said. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it's not really a party mix. Like, I'm not really trying to, like, you know, rock a party with these 1 hour sets. I'm playing lyrics that I feel, and a lot of the time that's headphone rap. It's not stuff you can play in happy company, you know. You don't play it with a bunch of people who are having a good time. It's reality raps, and you know, so yeah, respect for making that. And well, like, I think you and the Dirty Sample would make a banger. I think you should do that.
Some of his I listened to some of his beats, and I think I've seen him. He sent me a couple of videos of him making the beats, and the way he makes his beats is a lot different than how a normal producer is just hitting the pads, right? Yeah, man. This guy chops up his samples so crazy, man. I mean, he's a very how do I say it? He's very intriguing the way that he produces his beats, and it's like you said, it's not really for the party gore type, you know. It's more of like, you know, for that gutter type of music. See, right?
That's just adjusting our expectations. Like you were saying, you're not going to blow up at this point. Like you won't be the next big thing, But like,
Yeah.
if you adjust your expectations to just being able to be respected as an artist who makes art and exists in part of the art community or whatever, right? Like, you can still make a living doing it and get,
Yeah.
you know, you can still sell tickets to shows doing it. It might not be, you know, whatever everybody in LA is playing, but there are people out there who want it, you know, and
Well,
so
you know,
this lane's never going away.
well, I'll tell you right now, like, since I was on the All Out show, I mean, I'm getting messages every day from people all over America about, like, this one guy said today, he messaged me, he's like, I listened to the show and the last caller said he was really surprised and impressed. He goes, that's the way I felt about it. He goes, I wanted to hate on you. I wanted to hate, because that's the whole point of that show.
Dude,
When you, if anybody in the future, anybody gets on that show, the producer will call you and tell you, you know, if someone hates on you, you got to fire back.
Yeah.
Usually I ignore it, but for the sake and purpose of entertainment, if someone says I hate your shit, you gotta give it back to them, right? But I mean, as far as like that particular show went, I mean, it's done a lot of good for me. I mean, just in the last year, I basically, in the last couple of years, I made a decision where it was like, you know, I'm going for broke. You know, I can afford to do it because of what I do for my career, and I'll tell people right now, if you really want to make it, whatever you think make it is, but if you want to make a career at it or get the respect, bro, you got to go for broke, man. There's no other way to do it, man. It's like, this has got to be something that you won't give up on. I mean, look at Kanye West. I mean, I love the guy, man, because there wasn't a motherfucker on the planet that could tell Kanye West that he wasn't going to make it.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to make it, and I don't give a fuck what anybody says.
Knock on doors till he found somebody who was going to help him, right? I mean,
exactly.
Whether it was Jay-Z or Talib Kweli or Mos Def or whoever else, he was knocking down doors till he got in.
This is the problem, is that, I mean, fear is a big thing, and fear of change. You know, people are, you know, maybe sometimes people think they want to be famous, but are you really prepared for that?
Right.
Are you prepared to deal with that?
It's that poster from all of our high school classrooms that said, like, you know, growth happens outside your comfort zone or whatever, that it really does. You know, you really do need to put yourself out there. Like, after doing season 2 of After the Smoke is Clear, I was like, okay, I got this whole like mixing and paying attention to the scene and keeping up with new releases thing down. What can I do more? So now I'm just kind of making this up as I go, and I'm deciding, let's put on the media hat and pretend I'm music media and start doing interviews with people, right? Because
I'll tell people that another advice I'll give to people out there. I mean, I don't know if you had any questions about this, but it's been something that's on my mind for a long time, is like this obsession with people, you know, buying their views and their streams, trying to you know, like, present this facade that
I talk about that shit all the time, man. How do you feel about it?
Yeah, the way I feel about it is like, I do not respect that at all. I mean, I understand that people, you know, like, they want to get their music out there, but I'll tell people this: if you're going to go the authentic route, that's not going to happen for a long time, right? Yeah. You're not going to get the 100,000 views or whatever the case may be on your video, or million streams. It's like, this takes time to build.
Exactly.
And the way that I strategized my career is, like, instead of giving Instagram money or Facebook money, which we're products to them, we're not customers. I would reach out to big time producers and be like, would you work with me? What is your rate? You know, it never hurts to ask. Yeah. You know, can I afford to do this? And working with Marco Polo has opened up my email contact list to producers that can get my shit played in the United States.
Hell yeah.
So,
I mean, even beyond working with those big name producers like you're mentioning, I mean, props to anybody who can actually get those placements too. But even for guys at lower level of hip hop, like, you can be listening to a show like After the Smoke is Clear, check who's making those beats for all these guys across the country. uh, you're probably going to hear something on there that's dope, and you're probably going to find out that that guy will sell you a beat for $50, or I mean,
Exactly.
some of them will anyway. So that's the other thing that I've found out doing this, is just by listening to all the rest of the music that's being released. It's so inspiring hearing it. It keeps me wanting to make more music, and it keeps me wanting to keep up with the people who are making music, and you kind of get a feel of, okay, there's 10 guys in each city who are, like you say, really going all out trying to do it, and so I want to make ATSIC a place where people can find the other artists from the other cities, so that when it's time to book a tour, you're not just doing it with random openers in Winnipeg, or you're not just doing it with random openers in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason to. There are good artists in every one of these cities, who vibe with whatever, there'd be boom bap artists, there'd be trap artists, who would gladly, come together to do shows like that. And then that's how you actually get people to turn up at the show too, is by having the people in the city you're at who are actually good open up. So, it's all just kind of learning curve stuff, and trying to get the word out for people, and trying to just build the scene up as best we can, bro. But like I said, I appreciate you coming through. I won't take up too much of your time. Last question I got to ask, man, is just how can fans support? What's the best way for people who enjoy your music?
I can see her all afternoon and talk, bro.
oh yeah, okay. Well, shit, what else can we talk about?
I got time, bro.
So here, about that what you were saying about buying plays. I talk about that shit all the time, man, and I agree with you. It always has rubbed me the wrong way. It feels just cheesy as hell.
It's corny.
Yeah,
it's
right?
corny.
Yeah.
Like,
but
the problem is, this is the problem. You know what? If you're gonna do that, go nuts. Go do that. But don't be sitting here telling me that you're getting 1 million streams when I know that.
Yeah.
You don't brag about it. I mean, if that's your marketing,
that, like, it feels like only us MCs know that shit. Like only people who are actually inside the scene know that shit, and everybody else is like, "Whoa, this guy got 1 million streams," right? Like,
but he did.
No, he didn't at all. If you punch into Google, and I say this shit all the time, if you punch into Google right now, like, buy Spotify plays, you'll find 10 different options to do that, and it's like $30. Like, it's not even real fucking money that these guys are spending to look like that. Like, but so there was a Vice thing that came out a while back, and it was hosted by a buddy that played Omar from The Wire. I don't know if you saw this, but
I did see it, and it was very eye-opening.
Right? Okay, so that whole time I'm watching him talk to the guy. I forget what his name was, like Chad Focus or something like this. Focus was his last name, I remember. But he's talking to him, and the whole time I'm just hating on the dude, because it's like, he cheated his way in, and talentless motherfucker made his way to the top. Then about halfway through, that Focus guy said, "Look, man, we're not trying to live The Wire out here. I've lost friends in the street. I've lost family in the street. I'm getting out of this shit however I can." And I was like, you know what? I mean, I guess I can, like, sympathize with guys that have to hustle drugs or whatever to get out of bad situations in life, if that's the only fucking option. And I mean, I guess that I should be able to sympathize more with the guy who's buying his streams to get to a position where now he's opening for T-Pain or whatever. Like, I don't know.
Okay,
but it's tough.
In all fairness, I mean, if you're getting results from it, as far as like advancing your career, then I guess I mean, all the power to you. But I mean,
see, but is this not what it comes down to?
It's a fine line between, like,
promoters are going to book based on people's numbers, aren't they?
You're just
connection's breaking up. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, seems like we're back. Sorry, you were saying it's a fine line.
Well, it's a fine line between, I mean, like, what is it doing for you? Or, I mean, what I think it is like, when people do that, when they buy their streams, or they hit up a streaming farm, or to boost their shit or their views, I mean, it's just an ego. They're trying to fill their ego, right? So they can justify them talking about, well, I got 1 million streams. I got in an argument with an artist that I was going to work with. They were doing that. And I'm like, so they released a video, which was super trash. And it got on World Star, and it got 800,000 views, but the person got trashed in the comment section.
Right. So it was getting views on World Star because it was being trashed.
But it was they paid to get it on there, right?
Oh, okay.
And this person had the audacity to say, "Well, I have 1 million views." I'm like, "Yo, you bought those views. Yeah. Like it's irrelevant to me. Like being where I'm from, it's like, I mean, it's like the equivalent of being back in the 90s, 99, with me going downtown Toronto to the Beat Junkie at the open mics where all the dopest MCs in the city would come to spit on the open mics. And then we're spitting our shit, and a fucking MC comes and he starts spitting rhymes from cannabis and trying to claim that it's his own. It's like, bro, like we can see through your facade.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
And that's actually a good analogy, because that would trick people who don't know the culture, who don't know the cannabis lyrics, but people who actually know what's going on see through that shit, and it's cheesy as hell. Yeah.
And back in the day, you might get smacked in the mouth for that.
Right.
Like, honestly.
Somebody will Will Smith the hell out of you for that.
Yeah, someone will give you the Big Willie style, bro.
Shit,
but you know what? It's like I've thought about it. You know, I've thought about, you know, maybe if I paid like this site to boost my shit, that I get a bit of more attention. But it's like, you know what? My morality and my dignity and my integrity won't allow me to do it. And not only that, it's like I'm still getting played by Rhapmatic from the Beat Junkies. I'm getting played on Shape 45. I can hit up Marco Polo right now and say, yo, let's do a song together.
Hey,
and
after
even do
the
it.
Smoke is Clear plays you like every fucking week down here in Lethbridge.
Yeah, so exactly.
Exactly, man.
So it's like, you know, but I'll tell people this, like if you're cheesed about that, like I am, the only thing you can do is just go in the studio and keep creating your content. And it's like Gary V, you know, you got an NFT, you know, like you got to keep creating content, because if you're not writing or you're not making music, I mean, you're going to get lost, right? So that's why I'm on a campaign right now where I release a song every Friday.
Nice.
And I got a vault of music that I could release for the next 6 months if I wanted to. And that's what I'm going to be. I'm going to keep creating in the meantime. So it's like the wheel just keeps turning, and you know,
and that's the way
I've already got my foot in the door, and working with Half Cut and Icy Soul and all these guys.
Yeah, man.
And
I think you're
another thing too. I'll tell people out there is like, you got to make sure your business, your business has got to be right. I mean, bad business will fuck your name up in this business. Bad business, nobody will want to work with you. I mean, like, that's how it goes now.
Shorting people for payments or something, or like,
exactly.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
You know, don't lowball people. I mean, if you say your word is your bond, right? So if you say you're going to do something, do your best to follow through. You know, it's like if I'm working with an artist and he says, okay, this is how much it costs, I'm not going to argue with the guy. The rate is the rate, you know. Yesterday's price isn't today's price, or you know what I'm saying?
There's only one artist who I won't play on ATSIC, and it's a guy who fucked me over for $150 on album art. And I remember messaging him back and just being like, man, if you think that burning this fucking bridge is worth $150, then have fun with that. But like, you're fooling yourself. I know a lot of people, and you're making a mistake here by fucking me over for this. But
well, people don't forget that, you know, like when you do bad business, they don't forget, right? So, I mean, it's always, and anybody that I've ever done business with in this music shit, even when I was battling in King of the Dot, I mean, everybody knew that my business was straight. I never fucked anybody over. I never took advantage of anybody. Yeah. I mean, it's just, you got to respect people's time, right? And I live by that code, right? It's like, because I know that if someone hits me up, I've had artists hit me up and say, can we do this record? I'm like, well, I'll tell you right now, this is my rate. And if you want to pay that, then we can work. But if you don't, and it's nothing personal, it's business, right?
Yeah.
You know, some guys get mad about it. They're like, oh, that's too much. Well, then just say that you can't afford it.
That's exactly it, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've had people tell me, "Oh, no, I can't work for $300 or whatever," and it's okay. Well, maybe down the line or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to burn a bridge over it. But,
Exactly.
Yeah. Dude, I did want to ask you too, because you were mentioning that you're able to afford this because of the job you have or whatever. Talk, I guess, about kind of the work-life balance, because a lot of artists that I talk to have kind of said that they needed to quit their day job in order to go all in on music, whereas you kind of said the opposite of that, where your day job has allowed you to go all in on music.
Well, my day job, I'm a union man. So I mean, I've been working out in the oil field. I've worked all over the country, right? And it's allowed me to, pay for things that needed to be paid for, as far as like, if I needed to get a feature, or, even working with Marco Polo. I mean, I would never divulge in his, like, what he charges.
I wouldn't ask.
But I mean, it's not cheap, right? To work with a guy of his caliber, right? And understandably, right? It's like, it is what it is, man. You either want it to do it or not.
No,
so
that's a real investment for sure.
Yeah, it's an investment, and it paid off for me in ways that I never thought it would. But
yeah, I'd die happy if Premiere ever gave me a shout out, man.
Oh, buddy, me and Half Cut were like, Half Cut's like, I can fucking die happy now.
Pretty much.
But the goal is the goal. Me and Half Cut have always said the goal is to get a beat by DJ Premier.
Sure.
So if that ever happens,
there's always a new goal. Now that he's given you a shout out, get a beat. If you get a beat from him, maybe one day you can shake his hand and meet him in real life, man. There's always something to chase.
Like Shy the Beat Yoda, it was his birthday yesterday, and Shy has a personal relationship with DJ Premier, and Shy was even on his show out with Marco Polo, and DJ Premier's like, yo, I respect this guy, and as I mean, when you're younger, you want everything. But me being like in my 40s and seeing everything that I've done in music, which I don't think is a lot, you know what I'm saying? But I think it's enough where I know a little bit. And I mean, it's just, you just gotta keep pushing forward if it's something that you love. I mean, if I had done this for money, I would have quit doing it a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
I do music because it's part of who I am, right? And that will never change. I'll be kicking rhymes when I'm fucking 70, bro.
Dude,
so I mean,
maybe I don't know if you're familiar with KRS-One's book, The Gospel of Hip Hop, but one thing he preaches in there is that you shouldn't be doing this if you wouldn't be doing it if you woke up tomorrow and there was nobody on earth, if you wouldn't keep doing it,
Exactly.
And like you said, I'd still probably kick a rhyme as I walk down the empty street.
Yeah. And it's crazy to me to think that, when me and Half Cut's my brother, man. I'm telling you that right now. He's like one of my best friends, and it's crazy to me to think that if we still know each other 30 years from now, that we'll be remember back in fucking 2021 when we were rapping and we got DJ Premier and we were getting our record played, and then we're two old fucks, kicking bars. It's just crazy for me to think, because hip hop and rap music. Some of the best relationships
I've made have been through music. Once you make music with people, especially actual in the studio together making music, that's a strong bond. That's a lasting bond for sure. Creating art together.
Absolutely, I agree. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to, I've had people tell me, maybe you should stop doing the music and you're putting so much into it. I said, you know what, man, I could be dead tomorrow, man. So if I got to go out knowing that I went for what I accomplished, and you know what, success is subjective, right? So what is success to me and success to you is different. Some people think material gain is success, but I got all my own shit.
I was just
at
going
the
to
end
say,
of the
you don't even need, like people telling you to quit or telling me to quit or whatever. It's like, well, shit, I got a studio. I mean,
yeah.
I might quit putting it online at some point if I get discouraged with making music or whatever. But like, I can't see myself stopping making the actual music, like.
Well, like my uncle Jojo Bennett, he died last year, and my uncle Jojo is a pioneer of reggae music in Canada, and he's born in Jamaica. What's that? Yeah, he was born in Jamaica. He went to the Alpha School for Boys, and this was a music school that Peter Tosh went to, and Bob Marley, and all these guys. So two of my uncles were basically pioneers of ska music and roots reggae music. So my uncle, when I was a teenager and I started like writing my own rhymes, my uncle, I would always go to the studio when he would be recording, or going to his shows downtown Toronto at Nathan Phillips Square, and he found out that I was rapping, and he's like, "Yo, you're pretty good." So he brought me into the studio and helped me record my first demo. And then I actually do have an album that nobody knows about. There's a couple good tracks on it, but it's kind of whack, like.
Sure.
But I mean, like.
That's what we think of all of our old work, man. Nobody likes their old shit.
But I mean, I was always good at kicking rhymes and shit. And the advice that this guy gave me, like, he's been all over the world, and he took me under his wing, and he kind of fostered my passion for music, and he's a fucking legend, man. Like, rest in peace to him, man. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be doing this, because, and like I said, as far as the music goes, about doing it for the rest of your life, like my uncle, up until he was in his 80s, he did his music. Before he passed away, he had a stroke a number of years ago, 3 or 4 strokes, and the doctor told him, you won't be able to get on stage and blow your horn anymore. Yeah. And he's like, well, then just fucking kill me, because if I can't blow my horn, then I'm dead. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that was his life, coming from Jamaica and then coming to Canada and basically creating the reggae scene in Canada. For like, my uncle's name rings bells. He's a legend. So it's like,
So can I ask you, Rob, like you say he lit that spark in you, kind of bringing you into a studio. Have you ever thought about trying to work with youth and light that spark in them? Because I've done some social work where I was working actually at a supervised consumption site, recording music with people, and watching that spark light up in other people's eyes as you record them or whatever, and then they decide that that's what they want to do, and they come back to the studio the next day with another rap memorized and all that. It's huge, and it's really it was something that made me realize that, like, okay, so maybe there's a way to be hip hop and live hip hop that isn't necessarily being a big superstar, right? Because there are positions like that where, mentorship roles and stuff like that, and not even necessarily an official paid position, because like you said, you're a union guy, you're making good money, but just, do you have any younger cats who you feel like you can kind of put on the game like that?
Well, you remember earlier I was saying you're either adding to the culture, you're taking from it.
Yeah.
So what you were doing is you're contributing to the culture. So you helped somebody find their passion through hip hop music and through the culture. So for me, like with the younger people, I mean, there's a couple kids here in Calgary that my friend Yona, he's more on the trap shit, but I mean, like, the kid's dope, right?
Still, so, and even if you can instill some of kind of the boom bap mentality into somebody who spits over trap shit, it still is a positive influence into the culture, right? So
but working with young people is like it's different. It's different now, like for someone like me. If I'm working with young people, I'm trying to teach them about the culture and the history, right?
Yeah.
Because without that, they don't have an understanding of where it all comes from, right? And
yeah, man. And that's so important.
If a young, like here in Calgary right now, like when Premier was playing my shit, or Rhapmatic, or Marco Polo, or DJ Eclipse, which is another legend, you know.
Yeah. Strangely enough, I'm also playing DJ Eclipse on the song before. Shit, we broke up again.
What's that? You broke up there.
Yeah. I was just saying, actually, I'm playing DJ Eclipse on the episode before this interview too.
Yeah, and Eclipse is a legend, bro. Like Rocksteady Crew, like, you know, he's a legend. So
I played one with Danielson and Ren Thomas.
Yeah. And what was I saying there? With the younger guys, I mean, when I was getting the spins from Premier and Eclipse and these guys, it's like I could go to a younger guy here in Calgary and say, yo, you heard of like DJ Eclipse? And they don't know.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not their fault. But I mean, this is what I tell some young people. I'm like, if you want to be involved in hip hop culture, you got to know who these people are.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly on that one.
You have to know who they are, because if you don't know who DJ Premier is, then you don't know fucking hip hop, man.
No.
You just don't know it, you know? It's like saying, I don't know who Dr. Dre is, you know? Like, come on, man. You gotta do your research. So, I mean, if anything,
if you don't do that research, I don't think you get to represent the culture. I don't think you get to run around and call yourself hip hop if you don't know who DJ Premier is, right? Like,
exactly. And but as older guys in the game, it's important that we put aside the fact that we're mad that they don't know and say, okay, you just don't know, right? So I'm gonna teach you, I'm gonna show you, and they can decide whether they like it or not. And you know what? That's the beautiful thing about music. It's like, it's all subjective. You're allowed to like whatever you want, right? You know, like just because someone doesn't like me, for example, doesn't mean that they're wrong, right? You know, so
yeah,
they just like what they like.
Tastes. There is no
I
right.
think they're wrong, but
yeah, hell yeah, man. Well, dude, I actually have to go here. I got to get out of here by 5. So, I guess. Oh, but I did want to give your homie Shy the Beat Yoda. He's been doing Twitch streams, I think Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings, where he
does the morning. He does the morning brew. So
yeah. So check that out, people who are on Twitch. Shouts to him. Like I said, man, it's all about just trying to spread love, and like, to me, that's not competition, because what I'm doing over here is not like flexing my actual DJ skills, because I don't have actual DJ skills. I'm an MC who hosts a radio show. So, you know, I always laugh when people refer to me as DJ Doobyis or whatever, but I guess I'm a DJ because I have a radio show now. But yeah, tapping a sampler for the ATSIC is about the extent of my skills there. But yo, man, I appreciate you coming by. Do you want to plug your Instagram or whatever else where people can find you?
Yeah, you can. My Instagram's at RobRoy the First. That's ROBROYTHEFIRST. You follow me on Spotify. I'm trying to boost those numbers up. I got plenty of content on my YouTube channel. And you know what? If you like battle rap, I got battles online too. I used to be involved with King of the Dot pretty heavy.
I didn't know that.
I mean, you guys can check me out on there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have lots of battles. So I mean, good times, bro. And I want to send a shout out to you, man. You've always shown me a lot of love, and you've played my music down in Lethbridge. Shout out to El Rev Javier down there. I mean, he's a homie of mine, and he's doing big things, and I got a lot of love for that guy. And yeah, to you guys, man, like, thank you so much for having me on. And
appreciate you coming on anytime, man. And I'm on every Tuesday afternoon, just kind of working on the next episode of ATSIC. So if you ever feel like stopping by and just hearing what's new in Canadian hip hop, feel free to come by. But thanks again. And yeah,
thank you.